Imagine walking into your home after being away for days, only to find your child lifeless under a dresser. But what if I told you this wasn't just an accident? A 2-year-old girl, abandoned for days, bruised, and found in horrifying conditions. But how did this happen? And why? This case isn't just about neglect. It's about a mother who chose her boyfriend over her kids, a house filled with filth, and a tragic ending that could have been prevented. In the heart of Indianapolis, within the Timber Point Apartments on Newberry Road, a young mother named Chantell Gardner was known to many as a familiar face in the community. At 33 years old, she was often seen going about her daily routines, occasionally sharing glimpses of her life on social media. Friends and acquaintances described her as reserved, with no significant criminal history to her name. Chantell was the mother of two young children, Skylar Gardner, a 2-year-old girl who had bright eyes and an innocent smile, and her 4-year-old brother, whose name remains undisclosed. Skylar was the embodiment of childhood innocence, her laughter echoing through the hallways of their apartment complex. Family members recall her playful nature and the joy she brought into their lives. Despite the outward semblance of normalcy, those close to Chantell began to notice subtle changes. She seemed increasingly distant, often preoccupied. Some friends observed that she rarely spoke about her children, and her social media posts became sporadic, lacking the usual updates about her family life. There were no public records indicating prior criminal behavior, but whispers among acquaintances hinted at personal struggles. Skylar's father, residing in Ohio, had limited contact with his children. He last saw them around Thanksgiving and had attempted to maintain a connection through video calls. However, his efforts were often met with silence as Chantell became unresponsive to his requests. The physical distance and lack of communication left him unaware of the conditions his children were enduring. Neighbors occasionally heard the sounds of children playing, but there was an underlying sense of something amiss. The once cheerful ambiance surrounding the Gardner family had dimmed, replaced by an unsettling quiet. The reasons behind Chantell's growing detachment and the impact on her young children remained hidden from view, concealed behind closed doors. As days turned into weeks, the signs became more apparent to those who paid close attention. Yet the true extent of the situation remained unknown, setting the stage for a discovery that would shock the community and leave many questioning how such a tragedy could unfold unnoticed. In the months leading up to the tragic events of January 25th, 2025, a disturbing pattern of neglect began to emerge in the Gardner household. According to court documents, it was around October 2024 when Chantell Gardner started leaving her two young children unattended. Initially, these absences were brief. She would step outside to her car to meet with her boyfriend, Brian Thomas, in the parking lot. However, these short departures soon escalated into longer periods away from home. Chantell admitted to investigators that she would leave her children alone to run errands, such as picking up chicken wings for dinner or going to the grocery store. She confessed that managing her children, who could be challenging at times, was easier when she left them at home. Over time, her absences became more frequent and prolonged. She began spending nights and eventually multiple consecutive days at Brian Thomas's residence, leaving 2-year-old Skylar and her 3-year-old brother to fend for themselves in the apartment. During these extended periods of absence, Chantell would return sporadically to provide food for her children. The meals were often fast food items like cheeseburgers, chicken nuggets, chips, and soft drinks. She acknowledged to detectives that she would bring food once a day, but there were times when she left the children alone for up to 2 days without checking on them. Neighbors occasionally heard the sounds of children crying within the apartment, but noticed a lack of adult supervision. Despite these audible signs of distress, no reports were made to authorities. The reasons for this inaction remain unclear, but it underscores a missed opportunity for intervention. The living conditions inside the apartment deteriorated rapidly. Upon investigation, authorities described the home as a biohazard. The floors were covered in feces, overturned furniture, household items, and other debris. Feces were also smeared on the walls and furniture, and there was an overwhelming stench of urine and rotting food. The temperature inside the apartment was recorded between 46 and 51 degrees Fahrenheit, indicating a lack of proper heating during the cold months. Chantell admitted to detectives that she had stopped showering at the residence because the pervasive smell would cling to her immediately after bathing. This led her to avoid the apartment altogether, opting to stay with Brian Thomas instead. She also ceased taking her children to medical appointments or out in public due to their poor hygiene and the home's condition, fearing that their neglect would be discovered. Brian Thomas, Chantell's boyfriend, told police that he hadn't been to her apartment in months. He stated that Chantell would sleep at his apartment sometimes 5 days a week and rarely brought the kids. He claimed he believed the children were staying with Chantell's family when she was at his residence. The last time he saw the children was at his home on his birthday in December 2024. The children's father, who resides in Ohio, told detectives that the last time he saw Skylar and her brother was around Thanksgiving. He had attempted to maintain contact through phone and video calls, but Chantell became unresponsive to his requests. The last time he saw Skylar via video chat was 2 or 3 weeks before her death. During that call, Skylar was lying on Chantell's chest before falling asleep. As the neglect continued, the children's physical and emotional well-being declined. Skylar's 3-year-old brother was found to have overt signs of neglect and food disparity. He was described as weak and very twitchy, shaky. Medical evaluations revealed severe constipation and signs of food deprivation. He exhibited territorial behavior over food, having complete meltdowns when anyone tried to take his food away, and tended to eat in huge clumps, requiring intervention to slow him down. Chantell acknowledged to investigators that she understood the consequences of leaving 2 young children alone and what improper care could do to them. Despite this awareness, she continued her pattern of neglect, leading to the tragic outcome. This escalating neglect, coupled with the deteriorating living conditions and lack of intervention from those aware of the situation, culminated in a tragedy that could have been prevented. The signs were evident, but the absence of timely action led to irreversible consequences. On the evening of January 25, 2025, Chantell Gardner returned to her apartment at Timber Point Apartments on Newberry Road in Indianapolis. After spending several days at her boyfriend Brian Thomas's residence, she entered her home, calling out to her children for dinner. Her 3-year-old son appeared, but there was no response from 2-year-old Skylar. Concerned, Chantell began searching the cluttered apartment. As she navigated through the debris and filth, she noticed a small hand protruding from beneath a lightweight dresser with canvas drawers. Rushing over, she found Skylar unresponsive and cold to the touch. Panicked, Chantell attempted CPR and called 911. Emergency responders arrived promptly and pronounced Skylar dead at the scene. Upon entering the apartment, they were overwhelmed by the stench of feces and urine. The floors were littered with garbage, chicken bones, fast food wrappers, and overturned furniture. Feces smeared the walls and furniture, and the temperature inside ranged between 46 and 51 degrees Fahrenheit, indicating a lack of proper heating during the cold winter months. An autopsy revealed multiple injuries on Skylar's body, including bruising over most of her body, bite marks on her back and arm, frostbite on her hands and feet, and a puncture wound near her neck, possibly caused by a rodent after her death. The pathologist also noted signs of dehydration and the presence of hair and possibly feces in her stomach, suggesting she had ingested non-food items in her desperation. Chantell was taken into custody and charged with murder and neglect of a dependent, resulting in serious bodily injury. Brian Thomas was also indicted on 2 counts of assisting a criminal accused of lying to hinder the investigation. In the aftermath of Skylar Gardner's tragic death, law enforcement swiftly initiated a comprehensive investigation to uncover the circumstances leading to the 2-year-old's demise. Detectives from the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department, IMPD, took both Chantell Gardner and her boyfriend Brian Thomas to the IMPD Child Abuse Office for detailed interviews. During her initial interrogation, Chantell recounted returning home on January 25, 2025, feeling anxious and waiting in her car for a food delivery. Upon entering the apartment, she claimed she called out to her children for dinner. While her 4-year-old son responded, Skylar did not. After a brief search, she discovered Skylar unresponsive under a dresser, cold to the touch. Chantell stated she attempted CPR and immediately called 911. However, as detectives delved deeper, inconsistencies in Chantell's narrative began to surface. In a subsequent version of events, she admitted that the last time she had seen Skylar was on January 24th around 4 p.m. She provided the children with a meal from McDonald's before leaving to spend the night at Brian Thomas's residence, not returning until the evening of January 25th. This admission contradicted her earlier statement of being present at the apartment during the incident. Further probing revealed a troubling pattern. Chantell confessed to leaving her children alone for extended periods, sometimes up to 2 days, while she stayed with Brian. She would check on them once daily to provide food and drink, often leaving fast food items within their reach. She acknowledged that the children could climb onto the counter to access water. Alarmingly, she admitted to not bathing the children for 1 to 2 weeks, noting that she observed feces on their hands and feet during her visits. She also mentioned that Skylar's private region appeared red and swollen due to prolonged diaper use. Throughout the interrogation, Chantell vehemently denied physically or sexually harming her children. She admitted to neglecting them by leaving them unattended, but insisted she did not inflict any injuries. She claimed that Brian was unaware of her actions, asserting that he believed the children were with family members during her stays at his residence. Brian Thomas's interview provided additional context. He stated that Chantell would spend multiple nights at his apartment, sometimes up to 5 consecutive days. During these periods, she rarely brought her children along, and he assumed they were in the care of her relatives. He recalled the last time he saw the children was on his birthday, December 27th, 2024, when Chantell brought them to his apartment. Brian admitted to lying to detectives initially, stating he did so to protect Chantell. The autopsy report on Skylar revealed a multitude of injuries, multiple patterned bruising across her body, including her private area and right eye, multiple bite marks on her back and possibly under her left arm, a puncture wound on her neck, internal injury to her lower inner lip, unknown injuries to her feet. The coroner noted external injuries consistent with bite marks, frostbite on her feet and hands, and round pattern bruising approximately quarter to 1 inch in diameter. Some injuries were believed to be post-mortem, including the puncture wound on her neck, possibly caused by a rodent. The preliminary cause of death was determined to be hypothermia, exacerbated by the unheated and squalid living conditions. Given the severity of the findings and the inconsistencies in Chantell's statements, authorities arrested her on charges of murder and neglect of a dependent resulting in death. Brian Thomas was charged with assisting a criminal, accused of providing false information to hinder the investigation. In the wake of these revelations, the community expressed profound outrage. Neighbors and family members grappled with the harrowing details, questioning how such neglect could go unnoticed. The surviving 4-year-old boy was placed under the care of Child Protective Services, undergoing medical evaluations and receiving necessary care. In response to this incident, child welfare organizations and local authorities are advocating for enhanced preventive measures. Strategies such as strengthening economic support for families, promoting safe and nurturing relationships, and providing quality early childhood education are highlighted as effective approaches to prevent child abuse and neglect. A case that bears a similitude to the Skylar case is what happened in Two Rivers, Wisconsin, where a 3-year-old Elijah View was reported missing on February 20th, 2024, by his mother's partner, Jesse Vang. Vang claimed that while babysitting Elijah, he had fallen asleep and upon waking, found the child gone. This account marked the beginning of a complex investigation that would span several months. Elijah's mother, Katrina Bohr, informed authorities that she had entrusted her son to Vang's care, hoping he would serve as a male role model. She expressed concerns about Elijah's behavior, noting instances where he wore his sister's dresses and walked on his tippy toes. Bohr believed that Vang's influence might correct these behaviors. As the investigation progressed, law enforcement uncovered a series of troubling details. Vang admitted to imposing strict disciplinary measures on Elijah, including making the toddler stand for extended periods as a form of punishment. Digital evidence, such as phone and Facebook messages between Barr and Vang, revealed videos where Elijah was seen standing and repeatedly stating he was a good boy. Despite extensive search efforts, including aerial and ground operations, Elijah remained missing for nearly 7 months. On September 13th, 2024, a local deer hunter discovered human remains in a densely wooded area approximately 3 miles from where Elijah was reported missing. Forensic analysis confirmed the remains belonged to Elijah View. Following the discovery, both Barr and Vang faced additional charges. Barr was charged with chronic neglect of a child resulting in death, child neglect, and obstructing an officer. Vang faced charges of physical abuse of a child causing death, hiding a corpse, and obstructing an officer. The tragic loss of young Skylar and the case of Elijah View serves as a somber reminder of the critical importance of community awareness and proactive intervention. By fostering a culture of vigilance and support, we can work towards ensuring the safety and well-being of all children, preventing such heartbreaking incidents in the future. If you or someone you know is struggling with parenting challenges, resources are available to provide support and guidance. Organizations dedicated to child welfare offer assistance to families in need, aiming to create safe and nurturing environments for every child. Together, through awareness, education, and community engagement, we can honor Skylar's memory by striving to protect the most vulnerable among us. What makes a mother abandon her own children for days? And how many more kids out there are suffering in silence? What do you think should happen to Chantell should she ever get a second chance? Let me know in the comments. If you found this case intriguing, don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime stories that need to be heard. We urge our viewers to remain vigilant and proactive in their communities, ensuring that such a tragedy is never repeated. Thank you for watching.